Up to 25% of the heat inside your house leaves through the roof. In older homes past 30, your walls, your floors, your windows, they all lose heat. But the roof is where the warmest air in your home meets the thinnest barrier between you and the sky. And the roofing industry, $42 billion a year in the United States alone, has spent the last century making sure the solution to that problem is not a better roof. It is a bigger furnace. What if the three most common roof types in residential construction are not protecting you from heat loss but engineering it? And what if a building approach proven across 3 continents reduces heating and cooling costs by 80 to 90%? And the people who write your building code have never once cited the data? Roof number 1, asphalt shingles. 80% of American homes have them. They are the default. They are what your builder installed because they are cheap, fast, and familiar. And from a thermal standpoint, they are one of the worst materials you could put between your living space and the atmosphere. Here's what happens on a summer afternoon. Ambient air hits 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Oak Ridge National Laboratory measured what happens next. The surface of a dark asphalt shingle roof reaches 140 to 160 degrees, 50 to 70 degrees hotter than the air around it. That heat radiates downward into the attic. The Florida Solar Energy Center documented the result. Asphalt shingles increase interior temperatures by 20 to 25 degrees. Your air conditioner runs all day compensating for a material that is actively heating your house from the top down. In winter, the process reverses. Asphalt has almost no thermal mass. It does not store heat. It does not slow heat transfer. Whatever warmth your furnace produces passes through the roof assembly and into the sky. You are paying to heat the atmosphere, and the shingles are helping. The average lifespan of asphalt shingles is 15 to 20 years. In desert conditions, they start curling and cracking within 3 to 5 years. When they fail, they go to the landfill. 20 billion pounds of roofing waste annually in the United States, petroleum-based, non-recyclable, and replaced on a cycle that guarantees the manufacturer another sale before the mortgage is paid off. A metal roof reflects 70 to 80% of solar energy instead of absorbing it. Surface temperatures run up to 100 degrees cooler on the same day. Energy savings on cooling alone reach 50%. The material lasts 40 to 70 years and is 100% recyclable. It costs 2 to 3 times more upfront, but if your asphalt roof lasts 18 years and a metal roof lasts 50, you are buying 3 asphalt roofs in the time you buy 1 metal roof. Add the energy savings and the metal roof is cheaper before you even factor in the landfill. So why does 80% of the market still default to asphalt? Because the contractor makes more money on 3 installations than 1. Because the manufacturer sells 3 products instead of 1. The incentive structure does not reward the roof that works. It rewards the roof that needs replacing. Roof number 2, the cold flat roof. This one is more technical and more damaging. A cold roof places insulation at the ceiling level below the roof deck. The deck, the membrane, the covering, all exposed to outside temperatures. In summer, the attic becomes an oven. Without ventilation, temperatures exceed 150 degrees Fahrenheit. That heat presses down against your ceiling insulation, reducing its effective R value. In winter, the deck drops to ambient temperature. Warm, moist air rises through gaps in the ceiling plane, hits the cold deck, and condenses. Mold, rot, structural degradation you will not see until the damage is done. But the real problem is the thermal bridges. Every rafter and joist that passes through the insulation creates a conductive pathway from warm interior to cold exterior. The insulation between joists might be rated at R30. The joist itself is roughly R6. Through every framing member, heat escapes at 5 times the rate. The fix has been known for decades. An inverted roof places insulation above the waterproofing membrane instead of below it. The membrane stays protected from temperature swings and ultraviolet radiation. It lasts dramatically longer. The insulation forms a continuous thermal blanket with no bridges at framing members. DuPont's published data shows inverted roof assemblies reducing total roof life costs by up to 22%. The system has been in commercial use for over 40 years, but residential builders almost never offer it. The inverted approach requires different engineering and a conversation with the homeowner that most contractors are not trained to have. The standard approach is faster. Faster means cheaper for the builder, not for you. Roof number 3, any roof without a continuous thermal envelope. This is the one that costs you the most, and the one almost nobody talks about. You can have a decent roof material, you can have adequate attic insulation, and you can still lose a staggering amount of heat because the thermal boundary has gaps where the roof meets the walls. The wall insulation runs up to the top plate. The attic insulation sits on the ceiling. Between those two layers at the junction there is a gap, a thermal bridge. Heat finds that gap the way water finds a crack. The Passive House Institute in Darmstadt, Germany identified this problem in 1990 and built an entire construction standard around solving it. 5 elements: continuous super insulation around the entire building envelope including the roof, airtight construction that virtually eliminates infiltration, high-performance triple-glazed windows, elimination of thermal bridges at every junction, and heat recovery ventilation that captures outgoing warmth before it leaves. The roof in a passive house is not a separate system. It is part of a continuous thermal shell. Insulation values run R50 to R90, compared to R30 or R38 required by most building codes. The result is measurable and documented. Passive house buildings consume 80 to 90% less energy for heating and cooling than code minimum construction. Retrofits under the EnerFit standard have achieved reductions up to 93%. The Passipedia database states it plainly. Heat losses through walls and roofs account for more than 70% of total heat losses in existing buildings. Improving thermal insulation is the most effective way to save energy. A typical passive house can be heated with roughly 1,000 watts. That is the output of a hairdryer. One hairdryer running intermittently, replacing an entire furnace. Because when you eliminate the thermal bridges, seal the envelope, and insulate to the level the physics actually requires, there is almost no heat left to replace. Now follow the money. The International Energy Conservation Code sets minimum insulation values for residential construction. Those minimums are written by committees that include representatives from material manufacturers and builder trade associations. A 2019 New York Times investigation revealed that the National Association of Home Builders had a written agreement guaranteeing 4 of 11 seats on the Residential Code Committee. The people who write the thermal requirements for your roof profit from lower requirements. Less insulation means cheaper construction, and the gap between what the code requires and what the physics demands is filled by your heating bill. The residential energy market in the United States generates roughly $450 billion in annual revenue. Heating and cooling account for nearly half. A house that needs 1,000 watts to stay warm does not participate in that market. It does not buy natural gas. It does not call an HVAC technician twice a year. It just sits there, warm in winter, cool in summer, maintained by physics and an airtight envelope that costs 10 to 15% more at construction and will pay for itself in 5 to 7 years. That is the threat. Not a different roof material, not a different color shingle. A fundamentally different relationship between a house and the energy grid. A house that needs almost nothing is a problem for everyone who sells something. 2 honest caveats. First, passive house construction costs more upfront. The windows alone, triple glazed and thermally broken, run roughly twice the price of standard units. The additional insulation, the air sealing labor, the ventilation system, these add 10 to 15% to the construction budget. In a housing market already unaffordable for millions, that premium matters. Second, climate matters. In hot, humid climates, the priority shifts from heat retention to heat rejection. A passive house in Phoenix is engineered differently than one in Minnesota. The standard adapts, but the conversation cannot be reduced to a single prescription. What you can do right now. If you are building new, demand a continuous thermal envelope. Insulate the roof to R50 or above, eliminate thermal bridges at the wall-roof junction, seal the building to a measured air tightness standard. These are not experimental techniques. They are documented, certified, and in use across 30 countries. If you are retrofitting, the single highest impact change is adding continuous, rigid insulation above the existing roof deck. This eliminates thermal bridges through the rafters and creates an unbroken thermal boundary. The Department of Energy's Building America program has published step-by-step guidance for this exact retrofit. If your budget is minimal, a reflective roof coating on an existing dark roof can reduce surface temperatures by up to 50 degrees Fahrenheit and cut cooling costs by 15 to 20%. It is not a passive house, but it is better than feeding your air conditioner through a roof that works against you. The insulation to solve this problem costs less per square foot than the energy you will waste without it over the next decade. That is the published conclusion of the Passive House Institute. Backed by 35 years of monitored data, the building codes require a minimum. The industry builds to that minimum. And the difference between the minimum and what actually works is your heating bill every month for the next 30 years. The data is on the shelf. The houses that meet it are standing and warm. The only thing between you and a roof that works is a code written by the people who profit from the one that does not. If you want to see how the same pattern plays out with walls, how a $300 material that has been housing civilizations for 10,000 years was written out of the building code by the people who sell lumber, that video is on screen now.